Hi, it's Bee with Crafting Daily Dose. Thank you so much for joining me for this workshop. We are going to be focused on the Queen Bee bundle, so let's take a look. In the stamp set, there are 12 images, including, of course, this beautiful Queen Bee herself. The image has a vintage look, and check out all the floral details in the wings and in the body. There's a smaller bee as well that also has its own flower. We have a cluster of flowers here and then a small individual flower. There's a crown for the bee, and then we've got some words here. So several bee-related words in a typewriter font with some speckled texture, and then a separate stamp that gives some more of that texture. We have the word beloved, birthday, queen, and happy. And finally, there's this border stamp with a really pretty design. Cling stamps are made of rubber and they come pre-mounted with foam, but they don't have the indexing stickers on yet. You'll want to apply those yourself, especially for the sentiments. And if you're not sure how, I've put a link to a video in the description box. The corresponding Queen Bee die set has a total of 15 dies, including these 5 here that are going to cut out the stamped images. I love that we always get additional dies as well. So there is a label here that can cut out these sentiments. We have a wing detail that can fit right over our Queen Bee, and then there's a little heart too. Now you can use that separately, or you can use it to cover up the little heart here that's on the Queen Bee image. There's a separate small bee that has its own detail die as well. This produces a honeycomb shape, and then we've got floral elements. We have a small flower and a large flower, and both of them have debossed details that are going to show up when you run it through your Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. We've got a small cluster of leaves and then a larger one in a round shape that is especially good for making wreaths. So we are going to have lots of beautiful elements to work with. Now, bees need hives, and so for this workshop, I'm incorporating the hive embossing folder. Now, this is a 3D folder, which means that it's going to be thicker than a standard folder, and you're going to want to use your base plate as well as plate number 4 for it. And I'll remind you when it's time for us to use this. Now, the Queen Bee set does not have its own coordinating papers, but the vintage look of the images reminds me of Abigail Rose. So that's the designer series paper that we're going to be using. You can see the subtle color scheme here and the elegant designs, and we are going to be using several of them for the projects. I'm using specialty papers for specific looks, so there's going to be some vellum and some of the clear window sheet. The main cardstock colors are up here at the top. We'll be using Basic White, Early Espresso, Crushed Curry, and So Saffron. We're also using small amounts of Flirty Flamingo, Petal Pink, and Pear Pizzazz, mostly for die cuts. To coordinate with those colors, I'll be stamping with Early Espresso, Crumb Cake, Petal Pink, Crushed Curry, and Pear Pizzazz. And I'll also be using my brush for a little bit of blending. Now for one of the cards, I'll be blending with Flirty Flamingo ink, so if you have it, you can add it as well, but it's optional. This time I'm coloring with Blends markers, mostly the Petal Pink. If you want to add more color to your images, then these 2 sets are optional, So Saffron and Soft Seafoam. To dress up some of the cards, I'm going to be using this Petal Pink soft polyester ribbon, and sure enough, it really is very soft. It has kind of like a suede feel, and as you can see, it's very flat as well. Now, if you really pick at the edges, you can get them to fray, but they're not going to fray very easily on their own. So it's really convenient to use. You'll see me use the Stampin' Seal tape runner, the multi-purpose glue, and the dimensional foam stickers. I use these all of the time. You can also use foam adhesive sheets instead of the dimensionals because they're the same thickness and you can use them interchangeably. In addition, I'm using some mini glue dots. And because that honeycomb die cut has some very thin lines, I'm going to put some adhesive sheet on the back of my cardstock before I cut those out. This is a film of adhesive between 2 layers of backing, and it's great for turning your die cuts into stickers. Now, are you ready to see the cards? Because I'm very excited to show you. This first card is going to give us an opportunity to get familiar with the stamp set. We're also going to have fun distressing the edges of the paper here, and we'll do a little bit of coloring as well. The second card has an even more vintage look, and we're going to get to do lots more stamping here for the background as well as our main image and sentiment. The next card has plenty of layers, even on the inside. We're going to get to play with that embossing folder, and so there's going to be lots of texture and dimension. I love being able to include pop-ups in my workshops. And since we're dealing with bees and hives, I couldn't resist doing a hexagon platform pop-up card. Now it folds down flat, as you can see, but when you press up on the base, the platform appears, and we're going to create a beautiful scene for it. It's going to be able to sit on its own on a table for display. Now the construction here is unique, and while it does take some time, you're going to be creating something really special. The other pop-up is going to be a quicker one to execute. You can see we've got a message panel on the back, and then this belly band. When you open it up, it is a pop-out bendy card, so that when you flex the sides, you can see that that bee really pops out at you. It's really a fun movement and not hard to do. And then finally, after those challenges, we're going to wind down with our last card. There's a little bit of stamping, and it relies mostly on die cuts for the decoration. I've created a little pun here, Happy Birthday, that you can make too, or you can have a regular message instead. Hopefully you are abuzz with excitement too, so let's get started.